Over the past 8 years, I've helped hundreds of people retire before age 65. And one of the most tragic things I've seen happen is regret. But for every one person who retires and regrets it, there are several who say it was the best decision of their lives. The difference? The happy retirees could all easily answer 5 key questions. So I'm going to go over those 5 questions, and if you can easily answer all of them, great. Very little chance of regret for early retirement. And question number 4, I'm just going to say it now, might be a little controversial, but I find it to be one of the most important. By the way, I'm Rachel Camp. I am a CFP professional and the founder of Camp Wealth, and we help people confidently retire before age 65. All right, starting with question number 1. This is one of my favorites. Am I running towards something or just running away from stress? Some people enter retirement like they're escaping a burning building. Now, if you do this, you will experience immediate relief. But the next stage that occurs after that relief is almost always filled with some form of disappointment unless you prepare. You see, there are 3 common stages with retirement. Stage number 1 is when you're still working and you can see that retirement end date and it's building up, you're filled with excitement, you just can't wait. Stage 2 is right after you retire. This is the honeymoon. Everything you thought retirement would be appears to be happening. You're getting rest, you're doing whatever you want. There's no one you have to answer to. But the next stage is where things can go wrong if you're not ready. And stage 3 is what we call the disappointment or the letdown stage. And honestly, even the most successful retirees briefly go through this stage. It's this feeling of what's next? Is this all there is to retirement? What happened to all that excitement I just experienced at stage 2? Although you probably won't call it stage 2. But while a lot of retirees go through this stage, you can easily snap out of it. And I find retirees that snap out of it the quickest prepared with question number 2. Question 2 is, how will you structure your days? An empty calendar sounds amazing until you're on your 12th day of an empty calendar and there's nothing to do. Ask any early retiree and they'll tell you it's not the absence of work that will get you, it's the lack of structure. That's why the happiest retirees build their weeks around 5 core ingredients. Number 1, health. How are we taking care of our physical, our mental health? Number 2, social connection. We'll get more into that later. Number 3 is purpose or fulfillment. Number 4 is the challenge. How are we learning? How are we growing? And finally, 5, leisure. Yes, rest is extremely important in this phase of life. So first, zoom out over the course of a week. How are we making sure that we are hitting all 5? And then we zoom into your daily life and we get really specific, like what does a Tuesday look like for you? What's an ideal Tuesday? What time do you wake up? What do your mornings feel like? When it's mid-morning, what are you doing? Are you creative, connecting with others? Or are you just killing time? And then how do you wind down your day? So what's a Tuesday evening, afternoon feel like? Making sure it feels satisfying and complete and not just over. It's a paradox, but the more structure you add to your day in retirement, the more freedom and fulfillment you will actually feel. And question number 3 actually builds on this one. And this is another one of my favorites, but it is, have you stress tested your retirement? Many of us romanticize retirement as the end to all of our stress and days on the beach sipping cocktails and playing pickleball. But have you ever actually done that? Because I am going to shatter your reality for a second here. This is from retirees who have told me this over and over again, but after about 2 to 3 weeks of this type of lifestyle, doing whatever you want, waking up whenever you feel like, you will get incredibly bored, especially for the very people who actually achieve early retirement. Because achieving early retirement is extremely difficult. It requires discipline and delayed gratification, often a high paying job. It's a real challenge. So, the same person that was able to achieve this difficult feat is probably not the same person who can enjoy infinite leisure. At some point, you are going to be desperate in retirement for an actual challenge. So, please stress test as much as you can. Mini retirements or sabbaticals or just a longer vacation. These can all be incredibly helpful to see if retiring is the answer to all of your problems, or if it might turn out to be a disappointing fantasy. Once we remove the job from your daily life, once we take it out of the equation, what's actually left? What does your days look like? And this is actually where the next question becomes very important. Sometimes I've asked this question and people kind of give me a weird look. So maybe it's a little bit controversial, but I found people who can answer this typically have zero regrets when they retire. And that is question number 4. What is your new identity? You see, there was a client that I had early in my career. One of my first clients, loved working with them. They were happy and energetic and an inspiring person. They had spent their entire lives building an incredible business. They found a tremendous sense of purpose in this business and they did a credible job providing for their family. But the time came to pass on that business to the next generation. And reluctantly, although the client was really excited for their children, they did so. And that's when I started noticing a slight change in them. Previously, they were vibrant and well spoken and put together. And while they were a little older, they were extremely sharp. In retirement, I noticed things changing. They wanted to meet in the afternoons. They came in looking a bit disheveled and unprepared, and they weren't remembering things that we had just spoken about like a week before. This client really struggled to transition because their identity was so interwoven into their business, and pretty much overnight, they lost this identity. So, who are you without your job? When you no longer work and someone comes up to you and they say, "What do you do?" What are you going to say to that person once you're retired? I think some people will hate this question because chasing an identity can make a lot of people miserable. But my pushback would be an identity is only miserable if it's externally created. This can and it should be an internal scorecard, as Warren Buffett calls it. So, if we look at the top regrets of the dying, this is a book written by a hospice nurse. We see that the number one regret is I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The only time we get in trouble with an identity is when it's one created by someone else with different goals. But the most important thing is how you answer the next question. And if I had to bet on if a retiree was going to regret retirement, I would put my bet based off of how they answered this last question, number 5. And that is, who will you spend your time with? There is a Harvard study spanning 80 years that is the longest study ever done on human happiness. And this study found that the number one most significant predictor of overall happiness, life satisfaction, and just general well being is good relationships. This is extremely important for everyone, but especially retirees. Do you have people you can spend time with once you're retired? If you are retiring early, it is likely your friends are still going to be working. Maybe even your spouse is going to continue working. So if you can't easily answer who you will spend your days with, I think there's honestly a very high chance of regret in retirement. You see, humans, obviously, we're social animals. We need connection. And the most common reason I hear for early retirement regret is loneliness. So take stock of who your social life is now and how that would change without your job. If you're spending a lot of time with your coworkers, you need to understand who is going to replace them for that daily social interaction. For many people, specifically Americans, work is at the core of our social interaction. So we have to replace this in retirement. If you want a clearer picture of how to create a truly satisfying retirement beyond just the numbers, click the first link in the description below to book a complimentary call with my team. We will show you exactly how we help many other retirees enjoy a meaningful and purposeful next chapter. I'll see you in the next one.